including insulin resistance and hypertension. Visceral fat releases inflammatory signals. It interferes with insulin signaling in the liver. It contributes to liver insulin resistance, which is one of the primary drivers of chronically elevated insulin levels throughout the day. You can have a normal BMI, you can be running marathons, and you can still have a fatty liver that's making you insulin resistant. When that happens, your pancreas has to produce more insulin to achieve the same level of blood sugar control. That elevated insulin then drives all of the downstream effects that we've just been talking about. Sodium retention, sympathetic activation, and endothelial dysfunction. And the result is higher blood pressure that seems to come out of nowhere. This is particularly common in certain populations. Women going through the menopause, for example, tend to see a shift in body composition where they lose muscle mass and gain visceral fat, even if their overall weight stays the same. People who are chronically sleep deprived accumulate visceral fat more readily than people who sleep well, even when calorie intake is controlled. Moderate alcohol consumption, which a lot of health-conscious people consider harmless, contributes to fatty liver and insulin resistance. Chronic stress elevates cortisol as well, which preferentially deposits fat in the visceral compartments. All of these factors can create a situation where someone who looks fit and thinks they're doing everything right is actually running on the wrong hormonal settings when it comes to blood pressure regulation. The clinical implications of this are quite profound. It means you cannot judge someone's blood pressure risk just by looking at them. It means that normal weight is not the same thing as metabolically healthy. And it means that if you're doing all the right things on the surface, but still struggling with elevated blood pressure, the issue might not be what you're eating or how much you're exercising. It might be the internal metabolic environment that's been quietly deteriorating without obvious external signs. So let's name this a mistake explicitly, because up to this point we've been building the physiological case, but I want to make sure this lands in practical terms. The one mistake that most health-conscious people make, the mistake that keeps blood pressure elevated even when they're eating well and exercising and doing most things right, is constant feeding. It's eating or drinking something that stimulates insulin secretion frequently enough throughout the day that insulin never drops back to your baseline. That's it. That's the mechanism that's driving persistently elevated blood pressure in a huge number of people who would otherwise be considered metabolically healthy. This shows up in a few different ways. The most obvious is grazing. Eating small amounts of food